Hello, everyone. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Um, with me today, I have a guest with me today, and you can probably tell just from the difference in the setup and the difference in the way I've started my show. Not to mention, I have Q here, Delaney. Um, Ron Placone is with me today. What's happening, Ron Placone? What's going on, man?
Hey Jamal, how are you? Good to see you again, man.
I'm doing all right. I am glad to have you on the show. You're always a guest, welcome on the show, but you contacted me for a very specific reason. Um, Fight for the future.
Yep.
What's going on with that?
So I've teamed up with an organization called Fight for the Future, and we're doing an epic live stream for net neutrality. We made the URL really easy for folks. It's just epiclivestream.com. And that live
I
stream,
asked the same thing. I was like, wait,
right?
is that the name of the live stream? It was like, yeah,
Doesn't get
that's
any
the name
easier
of
than
it.
that. When they said that was the URL, I was thrilled. I was like, yes. So it's just epiclivestream.com. And what we're doing is we're having a day of action on June 11th to save net neutrality. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are already somewhat familiar with net neutrality, but basically, quick nuts and bolts, net neutrality assures a free and open internet for all of us. It assures that the internet is a level playing field, that videos upload, that the internet is not cut off into different segments. You have access to the full World Wide Web, and that nobody can kind of infringe on that. That's what net neutrality does. We've had net neutrality since the advent of the internet. The Trump FCC repealed net neutrality laws exactly 1 year ago on June 11th. So it's been a year, or it'll be a year coming up here shortly. Since then, we've been fighting back on the state level with state net neutrality bills. We've been fighting back by trying to get municipal broadband throughout parts of the country. What that does is it takes the internet out of the corporations' hands and into the hands of cities and municipalities where they have net neutrality written into their charter. We've been fighting back by trying to get Congress to overturn what the FCC did. And one of the things that we did was we got the House to pass the Save the Internet Act, which basically reinstated net neutrality rules. It was a 3-page bill, very simple. I'm sure you talked about it some on the show, but it just basically said, hey, that repeal of net neutrality we did, that was pretty lame. We're going to go back to net neutrality. That's all the bill did. Very simple. It passed the House, but Mitch McConnell was like, this is dead on arrival in the Senate. So what the Democrats did, instead of standing strong and saying, hey, 80% of the people want net neutrality, we're going to force a vote on this because, we want you guys to go on record going against net neutrality because it'll come back to haunt you in the ballot box. Unfortunately, some Democrats and some Republicans instead are starting to cave, and they're saying, well, we can make a compromise bill. They've had a couple compromise net neutrality bills. I use air quotes here because the compromise net neutrality bills were not net neutrality at all. They were,
Just to add a little bit more clarity on this, the guy who passed that was Obama's guy. Obama put that guy in at the top. It's just so happened with Trump. Yes, Opai.
Yeah. Ajit Pai was brought into the fold initially by Obama, and then he was appointed head of the FCC by Trump.
Exactly. And it was only under the Trump administration where I guess he got the cojones to go ahead and kind of ape it, to chop off net neutrality. But it was put there by Obama. And I get the point. I get the impression that if, let's say, there wasn't that much pushback during the Obama administration, he probably would have done this exact same thing under Obama. I guess my point is this. Democrats might have flaked on this, but Democrats flaked on this for very particular reasons. They were in the House, there was a huge amount of pressure on them to behave in this particular way. In the Senate, they could always say, well, the Republicans aren't going to let us do X, in which case, their spine gets that much more jello, because I would imagine there have been people sending them emails and texts saying, hey, you better not support X or else. I love this. I mean, it feels like this fight is taking place on multiple fronts. The chopping off of many, I guess you could say, sites in this kind of YouTube apocalypse kind of gets across that, this notion of censorship is not just from the level of this corporate censorship. It's also, well, it is corporate censorship. It's just on different levels. One is at the level of the company or the IIS or the ISP provider. The other one is at the level of where we have our commons. It's like Twitter and YouTube, these sites that have become, so necessary in almost our daily life, even from the standpoint of business. And we have no control over these devices at all. It's
right. Oh, yeah. All those issues are connected. And to respond to some of the stuff you said, you're absolutely right when you say it's not like the Democrats have some immaculate track record on net neutrality or anything like that. We got net neutrality on the books not because of any administration, the Obama administration or any other one, and certainly not because of Tom Wheeler, who was the head of the FCC during Obama's time. we got it on the books because we, the people, demanded it very, very loudly. Tom Wheeler actually didn't want to do it. If you guys, what happened was the cable companies took the FCC to court saying they couldn't enforce net neutrality. The cable companies won, but the courts told the FCC, they were like, hey, if you designate the internet a Title II classification, which means it's a common carrier in people's lives, you can enforce net neutrality. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And Tom Wheeler, he used to be a cable lobbyist. So he was like, well, I don't know if we need to do that. That might be an overreach. Maybe if we just tell them to play nice, they will. Yeah, but then the public got so mad, the public crashed the FCC's website with comments. So Tom Wheeler had to do the right thing. And Barack Obama did urge him to. So yes, they did do the right thing. But, let's be real here. They did the right thing because of public pressure, not because they just felt good about it.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things, this big kind of corporate takeover of the FCC, the attempted corporate takeover of our internet. This is a long time coming. This has had support from both parties and resistance from, there's some Republicans that are pro net neutrality, some Democrats that are anti net neutrality. This is really a matter of we, the people, versus the corporate elite. Net neutrality, as far as voters go, it has support amidst about 80% of citizens all across the political aisles, on the left and on the right, because, no matter what your politics are, you see the value in a free and open internet. Nobody wants to log onto the internet and see it look like cable television 2.0, where they can't access certain sites. No one wants to see independent media go away, because keep in mind, without a free and open internet, stuff like this, it wouldn't be able to exist anymore, because we can't afford to pay those fees that, big cable would demand.
And that's the other part. It's funny. This becomes a business interest also. Major, predominantly, I would even argue. It's a free speech issue that people be able to get out and get their point of view and everything across in this kind of free and open sharing of ideas. But this is also becoming a business issue. It's almost like the pot thing, where, pot, the moment that, half of the country where it's legal versus not legal, and you have businesses that are trying to operate in this, it gets dicey from standpoint of business. The YouTube thing is the same thing. You have a lot of companies, small independent businesses, for all intents and purposes. I guess I would be considered a small business. I think you would be considered a small business, trying to operate in a market that, has just gotten far dicier with the rulings that have been put into place. And if you want your particular person to be able to continue to do what that particular person does, supporting net neutrality is probably one of the ways to go about ensuring that. I agree.
Yeah, and you bring up an important point too, because we certainly do have some odd bedfellows in the net neutrality fight. There's a lot of big companies. The ISPs, the internet service providers, they're against net neutrality because they have more money to be made if net neutrality goes away. But, the Googles of the world, the Netflixes of the world, those are big behemoths too.
Yeah.
They're pro net neutrality because net neutrality benefits their business model. So, sometimes people, they're like, well, if these big companies are for it, then maybe it's bad. Like, no, we just have an odd bedfellow in this case.
Yeah.
We don't agree with Google on everything. We don't agree with, a lot of these companies on everything. But in this case, we do have a common interest. Is there a reason for having that common interest different than ours? Sure. But let's just take the odd bedfellow in this point, because we need all the help we can get.
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. See, it's funny. I wasn't talking about Google. I was talking about more so of small independent businesses. Like anyone that has a channel on YouTube, for the most part, if they're living off of that, is an independent business. It's a small business. I was talking more so about those, but you're right. You bring up a good point. There are bedfellows in war, and in this case, you have Google, Apple, Netflix, etc. And Placone. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
It's one of those things, and like I know you were referring to small businesses, but I thought it was a good moment to kind of bring that up, where it's like, we do have the strange bedfellows, because that's one of the things people bring up when they argue against net neutrality, and I think it's important to debunk those points. Yes, we do have some odd bedfellows. It doesn't matter what their intention is. If they support net neutrality, we need the ally in this fight, first of all. Second of all, some people say, oh, net neutrality is a government takeover of the internet. No, it's not. That's not what Title II does. That's not what net neutrality is. It never was. It never will be. That's just not what net neutrality is. Net neutrality assures that no entity, especially not a corporate entity, takes control of our access to the internet.
Now, explain why they think that that's a takeover by the government of the internet.
Because
I've heard that myself. I've heard
because
that.
net neutrality would designate the internet as a Title II classification, which means it's a common carrier in our lives. It needs to be treated like flowing water or like a telephone call or something like that. So some people, they basically frame the argument, well, because these cable companies can't dictate the internet we get, that means it's a government takeover of the internet.
Oh,
well, no, it isn't. That just protects us against those companies, the Comcasts and the Verizons of the world, from throttling us, from charging us fees for fast lanes and slow lanes for content providers, from cutting the internet up. Do you want to live in a society where it's like, hey, do you want the social media package? That's an extra $40 a month. Otherwise, you can only go to pbs.org and that's it, or something like that. That's what they could do to the internet if it was a Title I information service, which is what television and radio is. So that's why they, a Title II means it's a government. No, it doesn't. It just protects us from anything like a cable television 2.0 scenario from happening to the internet. That's what Title II is.
That's a great explanation. Like I've never heard anyone give just that basic explanation of what does it mean to be under Title II and why the conspiracy theory that the government is taking it over is wrong. Right on, Ron.
I appreciate. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I mean, this issue is obviously near and dear to my heart, and I've been following it for years and years, and I'm trying to do my part.
It should be near and dear to everyone's heart. I mean,
I agree.
Being able to get information in a way that's unmolested, and you're making the freedom argument, or the right-wing freedom argument, where they're like, look, man, you got to give people to get as much money as they could possibly make because that's freedom. And it's like, is that really freedom? I mean, freedom is always expressed in some level of context, and freedom for somebody else is like freedom for what to do, freedom for who to do what. And in this case, you have, we need cable companies to be free to chop up your broadcasts in ways that can maximize their profit, at the expense of other things.
Well, the free market argument is another one that's so easy to debunk because, first of all, what these big cable companies have is they have organized duopolies all across the country.
Yes.
So there's nothing free about that. It is literally an organized duopoly. They're just doing all of the anti-competitive practices that you're going to accuse the government of doing. Meanwhile, it's just corporations doing it. They're doing the thing that you fear, first of all. Second of all, a lot of these big cable companies, they want to prevent cities and municipalities from building their own internet, which at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need municipal broadband all across the country. We need to take the internet out of these corporations' hands and into the hands of cities so they can have net neutrality written in the charter and the public has a say in things. But the cable companies have red tape in place to prevent this from happening. So it's actually incredibly anti-competitive, the structure that we have now. It is the opposite of the free market. There's nothing free about it. It's an organized duopoly.
I agree with you on this. I mean, if we were trying to get cable service in our area, I think we have two options. I think you have Comcast and you have, there was one more, there's one other.
Is it AT&T or?
Yeah, I think it's like AT&T and you have Comcast, but that's it. We had to switch internet providers in this particular area, and those were your only two options. If you hate one, it's like, that is not competitive at all. Like now, if you're one of those two companies, you would love to see that continue to be the way that is, because that allows you to charge inherent, obscene fees for any kind of service that you get in this case. Ron, I agree with you on this, man. I think this stuff needs to be, it's such a vital service at this point. I do agree that it's kind of like running water, at least in an economic capacity and in a public good capacity, the ability for us to be able to share ideas and everything else. It's like a new commons, and I think it needs to be protected as such.
Amen. Absolutely.
So where else can we find you? I have ronplacone.com. I have livestream.com. And there's going to be a day of action and it's called Fight for the Future of Net Neutrality, and that's going to be on June 11th.
Yes. So the big skinny is June 11th, epiclivestream.com. We're doing an all-day live stream on the net. Jamal, I hope you'll stop by too. We'd love to have you on the stream.
I'll try. And what day is June? Wait, first, what day is June 11th?
June 11th, it's a Tuesday. It goes all day. So 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. So if you got any free time, please stop in. I'll get you in touch with our scheduler. So I hope you can stop by. So that's June 11th, epiclivestream.com. I myself am going to be in Washington, D.C. that day. Hopefully I'm going to be in D.C. And what we're hoping to do, we're hoping to live stream us taking a petition to Mitch McConnell's office to demand net neutrality. So we're hoping that we are able to live stream that entire event, and I'm going to be on the live stream a lot as well. And the reason I'm in DC is because the next day, the East Coast leg of the Progressive Comedy Tour starts. We're going to be in DC on June 12th, Baltimore June 13th. Yep, Philadelphia June 14th, 15th. New Haven, Connecticut, June 16th. June 17th will be in New York City. June 19th will be in Boston. Tickets for all those shows are at romplacone.com. That's the Progressive Comedy Tour with just myself and Graham Elwood doing stand-up. Romplacone.com for those tickets. June 12th through 19th. We're on the East Coast. Please come see us if we're in your town. And June 11th, epiclivestream.com. Please join us on the internet, where hopefully we're going to live stream us going to Mitch McConnell's office, and there's going to be an all-day live stream internet party. There's going to be guests. There's going to be music. And we're going to demand, as Fight for the Future says, we're going to demand that we keep a free and open internet, and we, quote, keep the internet weird.
So there are two things. One, I live in Richmond, Virginia, so I'm very close to you, and I may consider joining you on one of these days. I would love to come.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, and come out to the show, man. Come out to the show.
I'm going to try that. So, and the second part, you must tell your cameraman that if you started getting beat up by cops trying to hand that thing to Mitch McConnell, keep the video running. Don't stop the video. Keep the video running. If you're looking for comic gold, you'll get like 3 million views for that. It's like, here's Ron getting bashed by cops and tased trying to hand the petition to Mitch McConnell. Of course.
Yeah. Well, we got to enter through the building and stuff, so there will be an official process. I'm wondering if I can live stream that whole thing, if like they'll let me live stream like me going through the security or whatever. But we'll see. I mean, we'll find out.
So at the very least, do it incognito. But no, man, that's an awesome thing. So yeah, I may try to join you on some of that. Like I said,
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to see you.
I'll end this here. You guys, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the PayPal or Patreon. And yeah, please give Ron some support on this. This sounds awesome. All right, guys, have a good one. And